Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to show you all this video for today because today I'm going to be trying to make a rainbow cake. Now what many of you do know is that I love rainbow and I love painting everything in rainbow, but what many people don't know is I'm actually a baker. I really like to bake things, especially cakes, and whenever I do bake I usually bake from scratch. But for today's video I decided to focus more on the decorating aspect of baking instead of the actual baking, and so for that reason I'm just using regular old box cake. Now I'm using this white box cake because I want to add some things to the cake and I wanted it to be a nice plain color on the inside. And so I'm just going to be following the instructions of the box cake, except instead of the water I'm using milk just to give the box cake a little better texture. And then here I have all of my materials that I have set aside ready to be using. And I have lots of different food colorings for when the time comes to decorating the cake for the rainbow color. And I'm going to be using these three pans, a 8-inch, 9-inch, and a 10-inch round cake pan to make a 3-layered cake. And so the first step for making the white cake is you actually need to separate the egg yolks and your egg whites. The reason for separating the egg yolks from the egg whites is because the cake doesn't actually use any egg yolks. And the reason for that is if the yellow in the egg yolk will actually change the color in the cake in the end. And so for that you only use egg whites and no egg yolks. And I have to give a huge thanks to my mom because she helped a lot in this video. She was actually the one who separated the eggs because she does it a lot faster than I do. And so I'm just basically following the recipe on the box as it says. It's a really simple process of just adding everything together and mixing it by hand a little before beating it with a hand mixer. I actually started by doing 2 box mixes at once because I didn't think I was going to need all 3 of them, but in the end I do actually end up using all 3 of them. And after beating it with a hand mixer, I added in my sprinkles in the end right before pouring them into the bowl. And what I like by doing it this way is that you can add in as many or as little sprinkles as you want. I actually really like sprinkles, so I added a lot of them. And I sprayed down the 3 pans that I'm going to be using, and I poured in the cake batter into each of them. It's important to note that you always only fill the pans halfway because the cake will rise and grow. And if you overfill the pan, it will overgrow on and outside of the pan. And so here is where I realized that the 2 cake boxes weren't going to be enough, so I ended up having to do the 3rd one to finish filling up all 3 of the pans. And so here I have separated out my whipped cream that I'm going to be using to decorate the cake. I separated them into 6 bowls to be able to dye them all the 6 colors I'm going to be using for the rainbow. I'm going to be using pastel colors of the rainbow to decorate the cake. And once the cake was finished baking and it was completely cooled, I started by spreading the whipped cream with just a plain white in between each of the layers and stacking them on together. Now I did mess up here and there with the stacking, and so it came out kind of lopsided. And the reason I personally like using whipped cream instead of fondant or regular icing is because it is a little less sweet than regular icing, and I just have more practice using whipped cream, and so it's easier for me to use when decorating. And since I'm going for the pastel rainbow colors, instead of red, I'm using pink, and just using a little bit of the pink food coloring to dye the white whipped cream into a nice pink color. This part was actually really satisfying to watch, how the colors mixed into the whipped cream and dyed the coloring. And for the orange, I actually couldn't find any orange food coloring, so I just had to mix in some red and yellow to make orange. And then my camera died on me and didn't record when I did yellow. But we're back now onto the green after I did the yellow. And then from green we went on to blue, which were actually one of my favorite of the colors that were mixed. And then finally we're mixing in our pastel purple. And like that, my 6 colors are ready. And so after filling my piping bags with each of the 6 colors, I get ready to decorate the cake. And since I don't have a turntable, I just make one using 2 different sized plates to be able to turn the cake on top of it. And I realized a little too late that I probably should have started from the bottom instead of the top. And because of the way that I spread and put on the icing, you can't really tell it's a 3-layered cake. It kind of just looks like one really tall cake, or just a layered cake of all being the same size. You can't really tell the difference in sizes of the cake. And especially after putting the icing, you can see how lopsided the cake is. And so now I'm just adding a few little touch-ups on the top, adding some little flowers with some extra icing that I had, just to give the cake a little more decoration. And then on this little corner that was left, I was hoping to try to put on my initials, but I made it too big and it kind of just ended up with a swirly mess. But this is how the cake turned out. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how it came. It's definitely not a perfect cake, but I really like how all the colors turned out and the flowers on top. And since it's rainbow, I obviously really enjoy it, especially since it's a pastel rainbow. And I did end up trying it after the video, and it actually came out a lot better than I thought it would. I want to wish you all a happy new year. and tell you all thank you so much for watching this video and all of my other videos. I really hope you enjoyed it, and God bless you.